Have you ever told someone about something painful in your life
My dog died. Can I go home for the day?
and felt shocked at how unempathetic they seem to be?
If he's dead, sounds like there's no emergency.
Have you ever had someone explode at you for something small or misunderstood, assuming the worst about you?
You ate the rest of my cake, you monster! Jeez, calm down, it's just cake.
Whether you struggle with seemingly heartless people on one hand or people who seem to play the victim on the other, understanding empathy can help. Though it can be tempting to point fingers,
Narcissist. Sociopath. What else can I find wrong with you?
we argue that there are more complex reasons people fail to feel empathy. Blocks in empathy happen to all of us, even us bleeding hearts.
I have so many feelings!
In this video, we've identified and defined 5 blocks to empathy. Understanding these blocks can help us overcome them and better connect. Block 1, the full tank. Imagine that we each have an emotion tank filled with a variety of emotions that you might feel in a day. The experience of empathy is our ability to draw from our tank an emotion that feels similar to the one we're empathizing with. This doesn't mean we increase that emotion. We simply call upon it and become aware of it already there in us, and can thus connect with and hold space for that feeling in the other person. When any given emotion becomes particularly strong, it can feel like it consumes us and takes the reins of our thoughts and behavior.
Too many things!
When someone has a full tank,
I'm sad.
it's nearly impossible for the emotions of another to register. There is simply no space. It's as if the emotion is a radio station playing so loudly in that person's head that he can't hear anything else. In conflict, sometimes our very request for empathy can set off a full tank in another because he perceives a threat to his own needs.
Always an excuse. I need some confidence around here.
Other times, a person mistakenly believes the source of her unpleasant emotions is you, not realizing she has interpreted the situation based on some unresolved wounds from long ago.
Hey!
It's important to distinguish that no one can cause another's tank to fill, no matter how much it may seem that way. If they could, we would all have the same emotional reactions to any given event,
Gina and I are getting married.
but we don't. Emotions are caused by our subconscious interpretations of events, based on a lifetime of subjective experiences that shape our unique understandings of the world. Let's look at some subtler examples. Have you ever sought emotional support from someone
I'm sad.
You're sad? And found that she became so upset by your problem
No, you can't be sad. I'm so sad that you're sad.
that you ended up having to comfort her?
There.
While masked as empathy, this is another manifestation of the full tank phenomenon. Something about your situation triggered an emotion of hers to swell and fill her own tank, and she's so consumed by that emotion that she has no room to support you. Have you ever had a friend who kept coming to you with the same sob story,
Jesse totally used me again. He doesn't care about being my friend.
but who refused to take action to help himself?
Again? Are you finally gonna stop hanging out with him? No, I'm gonna hang with him this weekend.
Maybe you felt only mild annoyance, but still found yourself wanting to get away.
I gotta go.
But I'm sad. Feel sorry for me. Even a mild emotion such as annoyance can fill our tanks, and often such emotions act as defense walls protecting deeper emotions, such as disgust, energy drain, or fear that we might get swallowed into the same hole of helplessness as our friend if we let the wall down and let his feelings in. Block 2. Repression. If you recall from our previous videos, we repress, or shove down out of conscious awareness, the parts of ourselves we've come to believe are unacceptable, including emotions. But those parts don't go away, they just surface in roundabout ways. One such way is through repulsion and judgment. If a person's trying to deny an emotion in herself, she often experiences repulsion when she recognizes that emotion in others.
Ugh.
Repulsion allows her to superficially separate from the emotion by projecting it onto another person and rejecting that person.
What a crybaby.
Another is indifference. If a person has never had a chance to fully experience an emotion because he was repeatedly discouraged from expressing it,
Toughen up, kid.
it may be difficult for him to connect with that emotion in others.
My dog died. That's life.
He may appear indifferent or cold, but he's simply not connected to that emotion in himself. A third is avoidance. If a person has been subconsciously avoiding an emotion in herself, perhaps because it's associated with the trauma she's not ready to process, her subconscious can block her from getting in tune with that emotion when someone is seeking empathy.
Our jerk boss wouldn't let me go home when my dog died. Can you believe that? Oh well, that's life.
When we're not consciously aware of our emotions, that disconnect manifests in our interactions. Block 3. Overwhelm. Sometimes, when there's just too much going on that demands our empathy,
Tonight's news, a bad thing happened. In other news, a scary thing happened.
Oop.
And also, something happened that's infuriating.
Oop.
our system overloads and can seem as if it's shutting down. You may experience this watching the news. Have you ever found yourself automatically saying,
Oh, that's terrible.
when you see tragedy, but realize you don't actually feel anything? This may be because our tanks are short-circuiting from the sheer number of things that demand our empathy, and we prioritize what is most immediate and accessible to us. Block 4. Resonance. Sometimes we are more compelled to empathize
I feel drained.
when an external situation validates an emotion of ours,
Do you feel this way? Try our vitamins.
even if our experience of that emotion has nothing to do with the situation.
The people need more vitamins.
For example, have you ever known a person who gets enraged about various political causes,
Everyone should have a right to chase leprechauns. They're taking our rights away.
but is also just an angry person in his life in general?
What moron left this thing in the middle of the room? Can you believe what a jerk that guy was?
Perhaps putting his anger into causes allows him to justify the unexplainable anger he regularly feels.
Oh, disappointment.
We sometimes project our unresolved emotions into external situations
No more cinnamon in the water supply.
No more. Yeah.
because processing those situations can feel like a safer or more accessible way to bring us personal resolution for our unprocessed emotions. We may then be subconsciously drawn to empathize with causes that evoke those resonant emotions for us and pass over ones that don't.
Better education for everyone.
Bunch of hippies.
Block 5. Worldview. Our minds are programmed to sort and categorize
Pretty.
to bring predictability to an otherwise chaotic world.
Ouch.
Our subconscious often moves us to think in terms of black and white, all or nothing, without allowing for shades of gray in interpreting situations. This makes our world simpler, but is often inaccurate.
Come keep warm, sweetheart.
No.
Thus, we sometimes write people off as bad
Stop thief.
when our tanks fill with unpleasant emotions around them, especially when we feel victimized by them. It can feel safer in that vulnerable state to make an all or nothing judgment of our perceived threat. Our fight or flight response leads us to act quickly
Hello, police. A very bad man stole from me.
and without considering nuance or complexity in the person, which is useful for self-defense, but is not conducive to experiencing empathy. To learn more about how to tune in with what's going on inside, stay tuned for our upcoming videos. Until then, thanks for watching, and keep an eye on what you're feeding that hungry id.